first thing we have to do is roll call. So give me just a second. It would help if I had had the agenda open too, which I thought I did, but I must have shut it. So, oh, sorry, my screen is going funny. Give me a second. Okay. All right, so I am here as chair, Katie Rooney. Next up, Tara Lucas.
Here.
Robin Shishido.
Here.
Heidi Hansen-Smith.
Here. Hi, everyone.
Audrey Hidano, or Megan. Megan actually emailed me saying she has a last-minute conflict, so I don't think she's on. Luke, I believe you're here for DLNR chair, Chang, correct? Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Leah Laramie, are you here? Okay. Sierra Whiteside. Okay. Yamato Sasaki.
Here.
Jesse Domian.
Morning.
Michael Moole. Yeah.
I'm here.
And Kurt Watanabe.
Here.
Okay. Tommy Noyes. I think I saw you. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. I realize I also have to try it on the side. Who's next? This one. The absence of two screens always throws me off now. Okay. James Burke.
I am here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Jessica Thompson.
Here.
All right. Jeannie Torres. You here? Okay. And then our non-voting members, Senator Chris Lee or Representative Chris Todd. Okay. And then can any guests please announce themselves for the record, just so we know who's here?
Nicole Chernohorsky, Hawaii State Energy Office.
Oh,
I don't think you
sorry, no, I skipped you. I'm sorry. Yes, I have you for Chris.
No
I actually wrote it down, but then didn't say your name. Sorry, Nicole is here. Yes, wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hi, Katie. This is Rochelle Takara from Federal Highway.
Oh, great. Thanks, Rochelle. Anybody else on the line? You can also put it in the chat and we'll capture it there too. For those of you that.
This is Ikaika Hussey listening in. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Ikaika. All right. Okay, cool. So, nice. So, today, everybody on the committee, I think after the last meeting, received the minutes from July 30th, August 15th, and August 27th. And if I'd like to know if there are any corrections or edits, because since we made them available, we can actually vote on them today for approval. So I'd like to do that. So I guess the first thing is, are there any edits to what we captured in the drafts that were provided previously? If you need a few minutes, we can certainly give that to folks. Did everybody have a chance to review them? I didn't explicitly ask for review, but if we can approve them, I'd like to today. So just to help with the uploading on the website. Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve the July 30th minutes then? I think that's how we can do this. Oh,
I'll second it.
I need someone to make the motion first, but we have a second from Nicole or Heidi. Okay, so Heidi's made the motion. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, from Jesse, and all opposed?
I need to abstain. I was not present and have not had a chance to review those minutes.
Yes, thank you, Luke. I think in your case that makes perfect sense. But if there are no others,
I'm going to abstain also.
James, okay,
Yes. Thank you.
okay. Okay, so we have 2 abstentions, but any objections? Okay, so I believe we still, that's enough to approve. So hold on, let me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we have 12 with 2 abstentions. We only need 10 for quorum, so we should be fine then, I believe, if I'm doing my math right. But to be honest, I'm carrying a bunch of things. So I think they've been approved today then. Can we do the same for the August 15th minutes as well? Are there any edits to it at this moment in time? Anybody have any issues? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve with a second.
Motion to approve?
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. And then do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Thanks, Heidi. Okay, and then because we had abstentions on the last time, which I think would also hold through,
That's correct.
James, you too for this one as
Yes.
well? Okay.
Yeah, same thing. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so any opposed to approving of the minutes? Okay. Same math should hold. Sorry. I just want to make sure I write down when we make decisions. So I have it for my notes. And then the last one would be August 27th. Are there any comments or edits on that one? Okay, hearing none, can we do the approvals again? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes in a second, please?
This Robin make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thanks, Robin. And can I get a second?
Seconded.
Thanks, Jesse. I will pull forward the previous abstentions with Luke and James. Any other? Anybody opposed?
Katie, this is Nicole Chernohorski. I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay, got it. All right, sounds good. I will note those. Thank you so much. I know it's kind of a formality and we'll do a little bit better next time with the review, but this way we can kind of have those ready and completed for meetings that have happened quite some time ago now. So, okay. September 24th, we are going to table because you have not seen them, so stay tuned. And I will be clear in the request when I send it out. All right, next up we have Yamato to present on the City and County of Honolulu Safe Routes to Schools work.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, so I have a PowerPoint. I'm going to try to share. How's that? Can you see it?
Looks good.
Okay. So, yep, I'm going to be sharing on the Safe Routes to School City and County program. So first I want to talk about our student population. So statewide, we have about 67% of the school, students on Oahu. Oahu consists of 9 complex areas. It includes 187 schools from K to 12. And it comprises of about 225,000 students. And I just provided other county comparisons so you can see what that's like statewide. See, oops, sorry. just to show you a map of where the distribution is of our schools. They are where our residences are. Majority are within the Honolulu urban area. The red dots are elementary schools, the blue dots are middle schools, and then the green dots are high schools. And if you take the buffer of the Safe Routes to School area, it's a mile for elementary schools and a mile and a half for middle and high school. So this is kind of what it looks like. So, of course, the Honolulu area into this Pearl Harbor, Waipahu, Wahiawa. It's very dense. And then also Kailua, Kaneohe. So our program, we provide resources, knowledge, and technical assistance to schools and community members interested in pursuing Safe Routes to School initiatives. I do not go to every single school, but if any school or community member is interested, I am available. So we have emphasis areas that we've designated. Our first is to promote inclusive walking and rolling. So that's for everyone of all ethnic groups, ages, and different walking routes, distances, and the modes that they want to walk and roll by. And then another emphasis is to increase driver safety culture, primarily to lower the driver speeds. And then infrastructure-wise, I focus on enhancing crosswalks and walkways. And then I think it's really important that we make sure to keep it fun for the students and also for parents. So just kind of a general overview of the Safe Routes to School Special Fund. This is the only funding source this is our primary funding source for the program. We have applied for TAP funds and we're receiving TAP funds currently, but historically we don't have any other funding source. So just to go back, in 2012 through Act 317, it established the special fund, and then the Safe Routes to School county and state coordinators were established in the law. And then HDOT is to provide the funds to the counties for the Safe Routes to School program. 2014, HDOT adopts the administrative rules for the Safe Routes to School Special Fund. 2015, the city and county begins to receive the special funds. And then 2018 is when the Safe Routes to School coordinator is hired. That's myself. And then the program is started. And then in 2021, we have Act 009, which appropriates the special fund, which gives authority to appropriate the special funds to the legislature. And then Act 224, which is the most recent one, which then gives authority back to HDOT. And so in total, the city and county has received over the course of 7 fiscal years, $2,421,000. And that is how we run the program. So just a breakdown of what that looks like. Our portion of the special fund is about 53%. And if we break it down by student, it's roughly $1.54 per student. So it kind of shows you the average is $1.95. So we are spending less per student on Oahu. And then I'm going to go into how we have spent the money in the past to give you an idea of what the program has been like over the last 6 years. So most of our money we spend on infrastructure, and then some on just running the program, 10%, and then very little on non-infrastructure. The organization of how Safe Routes program is, is that it lies within the Department of Transportation Services, within the Traffic Engineering Division. And the Traffic Engineering Division has 3 branches, and it is within the Traffic and Mode Safety branch. And we do individual projects, and then we also do the bike and like outreach and education. So, you know, within the school zone, the Safe Routes to School radius, the mile radius, there are other improvements that happen. It's not all through our Safe Routes to School program. So other improvements like any kind of signage changes, striping of the roadway, crosswalks, maybe even putting in RFBs, those might happen through our other means that we have. So through the Traffic Control and Calming branch, they will make changes to the road through the city Department of Facility Maintenance. So the Department of Facility Maintenance will go out and do restriping. They could even put in speed humps from time to time, but typically it's not any kind of large projects. They're small, like maintenance. Typically it's painting and signage. And then through our Honolulu Complete Streets, we partner with them often, and they will also do projects near schools. These could be sidewalk projects or speed humps, speed tables, these kind of infrastructure pieces. And we don't consider that to be part of the Safe Routes to School program because they are not using the special funds. So there are a lot more improvements that are happening than what I'm going to show you today. It's just what we use the special funds for. So the biggest project was our Camporth Road Keiki corridor, and this was about $2 million. It was asphalt and delineators and a land acquisition for a smart part. We also put in 6-speed radars at 3 different schools, and then we had a couple of different quick build projects, delineator and paint and signage. And then we also had a grant process where schools could apply, community groups in conjunction with the school could apply for up to $3,500. We only had one applicant, and it was Blue Zones with Stevenson Intermediate, middle school, I guess. And they did this project of quick build and murals. We shortened the crossings and tighten up the radius. So we provided them with a little bit of funds. And then for non-infrastructure projects, most of it is me going out and helping the schools do a lot of this stuff. But I could also just provide them with materials if they wanted. Establishing like a walking school day or walking school bus. We do community outreach through education, such as sign waving, but it could be in other things like presentations. We provide activity books and reflective vests. We have educational materials on our website, and we do presentations at the summer funds over the summers. And then I can also do walk audits. And then we also do surveys. So this is a survey at Moana Middle. I think it's very typical, although this is a middle school and a lot of our efforts are done at elementary school level. You know, here, this is an online survey, and it shows, you know, this was done to parents. What's your biggest concern for your child walking or rolling to school? And typically, it's the car hitting a child or a stranger kidnapping a child rises to the top. And then our main messaging with our non-infrastructure education piece is that every street corner has a crosswalk. It can be marked or unmarked. We don't focus on children crossing at marked crosswalks because a lot of times these minor roads will all be unmarked, and sometimes that is the safer route to choose rather than crossing at a high trafficked corridor that is marked. And then we emphasize for driver safety is to drive slow, alert, sober, and stop for pedestrians. And then we also emphasize, that our fatalities, that pedestrians are overrepresented. While they represent only 5% of our commutes, they are 75% of our fatalities. And then the last part for programmatic things is my salary, I guess. So just to give you a background, I am a planner 5. It is a contract hire within our department, and it's a part-time position, and I'm funded primarily by Safe Routes School special funds, but because we haven't received funding for the last 3 years, we did apply for TAP funding, but that will be expired, ending in June. And then there will be no coordinator. So that's the end of my presentation. If there's any questions.
Are there any questions for Yamato? James, go ahead.
Yes, Yamato. Thank you very much. I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but you guys put extra signage, if you will, the flags and the plastic barriers in my community, and it's about maybe quarter of a mile, half a mile from the high school, and it helps everyone. Not just, this is where Safe Routes School isn't just for children; it's for everyone. Is helped by this in our community, and I walk past there every day. So it's thank you. That's what I wanted to say. Now, my question is that. Are there plans for how things are going to move forward? Even though hopefully you'll still be there, but do you know? What are the plans for the future?
It really depends on if we get funding or not. Hopefully we will get funded, and then the program will remain, and we'd love to see a Safe Routes School plan. That there's a few initiatives that we'd like to do, but it all depends on how much funding we have. If there's not a lot of funding, then it would be limited in scope.
Thank you.
Yamato, I have a question. I had done some back of the envelope on how many people live within a walk zone. Do you have more official numbers?
Are you talking about the non-student population? Just general?
Yeah, the total population.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I have never looked into that, but I think I should.
Well, stay tuned. I was gonna put it into the report, but I might send it to you first.
Okay.
But the numbers I have on Oahu suggest that about 94% of the entire population lives within 1 mile of a school. I didn't do the bifurcated walk zone, so I just did the 1 mile as a standard because that's what's in the legislation. So, but yeah, so I was just curious if you had an updated one, but let's make sure we connect because I would like to make sure you're comfortable with the number too. And I was going to do it across, I have it for actually all of the counties. It varies a lot but to James's point is that when we improve it, it's not just for the kids exclusively. It really does, benefit the larger population across the board. So, other questions? Comments for Yamato? Okay. All right. Well, then let's transition over to the next agenda item, which is talking a little bit more and potentially appropriate action on meeting the law's mandates. Give me a second to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Trying to switch it to present mode. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, So same kind of situation we've always been, just some updated administration. Everybody should have the calendar of the dates if you need it, because you're not on the committee and you don't have it, please let me know. As far as I know, I sent it out to everybody who's asked for it. Today, thank you, Jess, for doing minute support. I really appreciate it. Leah is up next for the end of October, but I do need some November volunteers. It's not a lot. It's just updating the form, and I do provide an AI summary of the presentations and the meetings. So it's usually a fairly quick process, under an hour, but I do need help doing it to make sure that it's accurate and, just confirming things from both the transcript and their memory and, actions that are taken. Is anybody willing to do November? November's meeting is just one. Okay.
I'm happy to volunteer. I haven't gotten to do the September ones yet.
I know, but now you're a pro. Yamato, that would be great. Thank you. I do appreciate it, because if nobody else does it, then I have to do it, and I'm kind of doing a lot of other things for the committee already. So
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
we continue to be somewhat, the Safe Routes to Schools Advisory Committee is not up to date. We continue to work on that. There's a lot of resource challenges, but we're trying to do our best in the meantime. So, yeah. So stay tuned for additional resources. So just as a heads up for future presentations, stay with Yamato. We do not have one for the end of October, but I anticipate that we will need some additional discussion in October. We do have the Hawaii Department of Education. The school transportation coordinator has agreed to present in November. County of Maui did have to reschedule, so we're looking at a few different times. But I do tentatively have the National Center for Safe Routes to Schools on December, and then the Safe Routes to Schools Partnership, which is both of which are sort of national organizations in the Safe Routes to School space, to sort of talk a little bit about what else is going on. Or County of Maui could go February. We're still working on that. Kurt, let me know if any of the dates are better, and we can kind of rearrange around your schedule, since I know you can't make the October date. You don't have to do it here. I'm just saying, since you're on here, let me know what you'd like to do. So any of those are kind of options, except I'd say the November one, just because it took me a bit to get Department of Education on for that presentation. So just as a reminder, early on, we kind of said that the key priorities were, to have a process to select and evaluate new project proposals. We'll hear from Yamato and Jess a little bit today. Developing recommendations for encumbering the current authority that we have with the 10 million, and then provide any legislative and policy recommendations for the 2025 legislative sessions. So in order for us to kind of meet this deadline, the annual report probably needs to be made available to everybody in November. And so I kind of want to walk through, and if we have the ability to vote on the recommendations today, I would like to do so. So, but let's do that, and then we'll turn it over to Jess and Yamato if time permitting, just because I've been looking at the schedule, and I think in order for everybody to be able to review the draft and feel comfortable with it before we submit it to Ledge, I want to make sure that everybody has time to do that. But it does need to be submitted by the end of December, which doesn't give a ton of time to draft a report coupled with review. So just as a reminder, we talked a little bit about this last meeting and then earlier meetings as well. This is sort of the proposal I'm making for everybody. We can certainly talk about it. I'm not, again, but I do want to kind of vote on these parts that everybody, that we could get approval, so that I can continue to write the annual report around this agreement. So just as a heads up. So one portion of the money would be recommended to go towards a comprehensive statewide Safe Routes to Schools plan. It would do the things that are sort of mandated in the law, which is goals, strategies, and performance metrics, continuing to identify methods to ensure the stability and the consistency of the Safe Routes to Schools fund, recommend changes, identify and recommend additional funding, planning, and programming. This money would include a 5-year committee support and technical assistance to folks. It would also hopefully address methods to support community-based organization projects and potentially metropolitan planning organizations if they're deemed to not be eligible, which is still under figuring it out. Right now we are exploring doing this through existing open-end contracts within the Hawaii Department of Transportation. So The italics are things that have been discussed in previous meetings, but what is sort of not italicized is pretty much what's in the law. The ability of the committee to do this, frankly, within the time frame we were given of a year is pretty hard to pull off. I think we are going to continue to work on it, I think, over the time, but to have this all kind of figured out. So trying to create a mechanism so that the work can be supported and move along, and, you know, and we would have help rather than relying on the goodness of volunteers. So are there questions? Is there feedback? Are there issues? I'm going to take it one slide at a time, just in case people have folks. Luke, hi, I know you're totally new to all of this, so I realize this is probably a lot.
No, not really. Actually, I just had a quick question as far as the 1 million. Does that include hiring of a consultant, or is the committee expected to put this together themselves?
That would be for a consultant
Right.
to help support the committee as a whole. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is a lot to ask a committee to do personally, even, you know, even people who are really dedicated to this space. I think we would need a lot of support and help, so. And I will say, generally speaking, statewide safe routes to schools, like plans and structures, are actually not that common anymore. There's only so many examples nationwide, and so I think having some additional support to making the program flourish and to be self-sustaining and do all these things would be great to have someone help us with that. James, go ahead.
So I just had a couple of questions / comments, and you answered one of the questions I have. Are we going to use a consultant? So when we have to have this committed, if you will, by December,
So
there's no way you're going to get a consultant by December.
yes,
No way.
You are correct.
And because that's just not how the procurement process works. So
Yep.
we just have to say, we have this scope of work. This is this thing that's going to do. Procurement's got it. We're waiting for them.
Yeah, we have two deadlines for this committee, really. One is to submit an annual report. And
Correct.
one is to work with HDOT to obligate the money by the end of the fiscal year, which is June. So this is ambitious for June, to be honest, but we are trying.
That's correct.
So,
Okay.
but
No,
I do think we have to make sure that, like, if this is, I think for the annual report, in order to also try and recommend additional funding and make legislation recommendations, we sort of have to have our plan in play and agreed upon by the committee in order to submit it as part of the final report and socialize it during the 2024 legislative session. So that's why I'm asking for the vote either today or at the next meeting, is because I think we should go in with saying, like, this is what we are planning to do over the rest of the fiscal year while we have the authority to make recommendations about how this money should be spent. And I think it also, it also sets the stage for us asking for the budget authority in 2025, 2026, which we currently do not have for the addition, a second 10 million.
I'm just trying to emphasize that. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. So are there other questions, comments? This is not the only time you'll see it. It's just making it so that the report reflects this agreement and the vote that will happen again, like I said, sometime this month. So everybody can have time to chime in if you think of things. Like, this isn't like end all be all and then we don't change it. It's an evolving process, but I think we kind of need the committee either revise this proposal or, you know, or have one that, like, I can write the annual report about, basically. So, okay. The second part is to, you know, and Yamada kind of stated this really great, is that the staffing support, having consistent, it prioritizes one of the things in the law, which is like the existing work that's already being done. So I have the second piece of the funding has been identified for staffing support for 5 years, 6 positions total, to have a network of safe routes to school program leads at the state, fully funded, county, and Department of Education. And these are full-time sort of dedicated staff folks, which some we already have. So that's why it's up to 3 million. I think it depends on the county and how it works, and that might be up for negotiation. And we are also hoping to do these through intergovernmental agreements pending the AG's answer about that. We had asked about the plan and we'd asked about projects, but we hadn't asked about staffing, although I think it probably is still covered given past activities, but that is still the area. So are there questions? And again, this is for 5 years to really provide some additional continuity to the entire structure. James, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't take my hand down, sorry.
Oh, okay, great. Are there questions, comments, concerns? Other things folks would like to see for consideration?
Katie, there's something in the comments in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Can someone read it? Because then I have to like flip over. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay.
If you want, Katie, I can just jump in really quick because it was
Yeah.
actually for the last slide. This is Keopu
Oh,
with Papa
okay.
Ololokai. No, it was just a recommendation that like as you do the plan, not for the planning necessarily, but like as you sort of roll out the plan, given the short time frame that I wanted to throw out City and County Climate Change, Sustainability and Resilience Office because they're doing some really good work on community engagement. So it might just be a good way to inform carrying out the plans that you folks are putting in place. That's all.
Great. Thank you. I will note
Yep.
that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Again, like this isn't saying that like this is exactly how it's all going to play out. It's just letting like that this is going to try and accomplish these things. Like I think the how and the who and the under what circumstances and the timing it would take to do some of this stuff is longer. So, but yeah, I will definitely note that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I think they could help with the how is all.
Okay. Great. James, did your hand go back up again, or did I miss it? I thought okay.
No,
Do you have a
it didn't go back up. So,
Okay.
sorry.
Are there other comments or questions? Issues? Okay. All right. And so then those are sort of the two, I'd say, like defined categories with a higher level of like ceiling on them. Like I don't think we would go above these amounts necessarily, although I can't guarantee that, but I think like this would be the recommendation at this point in time. But then the remainder of the money, in order to get it obligated by the end of the year, would be for specific priorities, plans, and projects, recognizing that we may not need funding for every position for 5 years, given that funding exists for some of them already, but letting whatever is remaining kind of cover these topic areas, which is, some for additional planning. I think this could be things like the non-infrastructure projects, just carving out that space, especially since it was called out in the law that we needed to make sure that there was sufficient money for both infrastructure and non-infrastructure projects. And then the remainder sort of based on the old allocation, mostly because it's kind of easy. And we sort of know how to do it. And I don't know that there's a compelling argument to kind of change it. Although I think this would be the place, if there is, to feel free. Which is that some of the money that's remaining gets split among the counties, and then the other half is based upon population. And I think this, the reason we kind of are going with this, one is it can also be done through an intergovernmental agreement. There's an existing structure for it. All the counties have identified projects above and beyond this amount that are qualify for Safe Routes to Schools funding. And I think, again, back to the June deadline, the June 30th deadline, this would be a good way of, making sure we get some projects moving on the ground now, while also keeping an eye on like how to build this program and this structure for it, and making sure the appropriate staff and additional like analytical resources are available for everybody. Okay. All right. Are there other James, your hand went down and came back up again. You got anything for me? Or am I or you want me to lower your hand? There we go. Okay. Yamato, I know that in the past you have definitely talked about like the different ways you wanted to kind of see this particular pot of money, not the longer term money. And I wanted to ask you specifically, like, does this kind of cover, and to all the Safe Routes to Schools coordinators specifically, but you're kind of the longest person, I think, in the space. If maybe Kurt's up there too. Like, does this cover all the activities that we would kind of want to have covered? At least funding them in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying it's perfect, but like, we're covering like the plan for the state, plans at the county level, projects, and then staffing. Is there anything we're missing? Oh, you're muted. Sorry if you're responding.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Jess and I also have proposed a few projects in our PIG discussions, and then they're the same as this.
Okay, great. I really wanted to make sure I asked that question because I think you have kind of provided the most feedback into this specific part, and I was thinking of that, so I wanted to make sure that we asked that. Are there any major concerns with this approach, at least for the purposes of writing the annual report? Again, I think there's some built-in flexibility, but I think if there are issues or additional things, this is a good spot for a December report, if you guys are so inclined. But if there are any concerns or issues or problems with going forward with this proposal and also trying to execute it, because I think, Yamato, last call, you really raised that like IGAs still take time and energy, and we probably need to start working on those. And I think that's kind of why I pushed to do this a little bit more today, is because I think if we can get the agreement on that, those can also start to proceed, I think. But I know we can't proceed without the committee sort of saying, yes, this is okay for us. Okay, Tara, go ahead.
I'm not from the counties, but then I don't know if they would want it to be up to an amount in case they don't want it. And then would we want them to say what they are going to spend the funds on?
I think all of those things are like additional conversations. So the up to I did sort of as like the high end, on the presumption that like if money didn't get spent or certain years of staffing were already covered and already being funded, that we wouldn't disrupt that, but rather the money could then get shifted into projects or plans and stuff like that. So basically it's carving it out up to that amount as needed, and then the remainder could slip. That's kind of why I did the 6 to 9 million here, because that gives us the flexibility in part 3. And then I'm sorry, what was the second piece that you said? I completely forgot. That was the first point. The second one was the project. Yes.
Yeah. So is the committee expecting counties to, say what they're going to spend the funds on by when, or are we just giving them money?
So I'm anticipating that the list would be in the report, but if there were problems with this like 3-part breakdown, then we needed to kind of discuss that. But I think having a list of what the likely ones would definitely be coming. I don't think we're quite there yet. But yes, I think that I would anticipate that we would at least articulate like what would be the first, second, and third priority project situation. So I think Jess, you're up next.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. This looks good from my perspective. I think some of the things that Yamato and I worked on as part of our PIG will kind of feed into some of the specifics in terms of what projects, because it's not just the counties, right? We're also looking at So we've kind of outlined some of that in our proposal. So looking forward to sharing that. And it does seem like it feeds well into what you have, what you've set up here. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. And looking at time, again, I know I asked you guys to kind of be ready for today. I think we're gonna save you for the next meeting in 2 weeks. Because I do think just the timing wise getting, like I said, we're gonna do a vote after everybody's questions. But again, if there are recommendations for changing it, this is also the time. But again, we'll see it again. We'll see it as an extension of what the work you guys are doing and everything else. So James, go ahead.
So I just wanted to move that we approve the proposal for recommendations, parts 1, 2, and 3, subject as a starting point, as a basis for continuing our work. Okay.
James, I wrote it out actually for you. So can we go with the one on the screen?
Okay, so I'll move to approve the 3-part proposal for recommendations for encumbering the $10 million in the fiscal year 2024-2025 to facilitate the drafting of the 2025 report to the state legislature and begin the intergovernmental agreements process. And I did that in one breath.
I know. Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Heidi. And then I guess, are there any objections? Okay, then so moved. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm, again, like I said, this is just so that we can move with the writing of the annual report, and I'm just looking at the time for that. But we can continue to have conversations about this. The one last thing I wanted to sort of show is this is the general outline of the report. Right now, since I started drafting some of it, like the purposes and what the committee's been working on. So just to get ahead of it a bit. But these are some of the points. If you have suggestions or additions that you'd like to see, please don't hesitate to reach out, but it'll be based upon the agreement sort of made today. And then what Justin Yamato will present at the next meeting. So I will share that. I'll send out the PowerPoint too after the meeting so you guys can look at it a bit more as well. Okay. Justin Yamato, we still have a forum. Are you okay if we push you back 2 weeks? I apologize. I was hoping we could get to everybody, but I'm glad we got this done though. So, or do you want to seat it for like 4 minutes?
Maybe, is there a way that we could briefly share it and then have it sent out to the committee members so that they can review it for the next
Sounds
2
good.
weeks? And then we can come back in 2 weeks and talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, I can just share my screen and then we can briefly go over just the general overview of what the document looks like, and then everyone can review it on their own.
Sounds great.
So we have a couple minutes, is that right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Jess and I worked on this. Jess is taking notes, so she's going to chime in whenever she can, and I guess I'm going to just kind of lead this. So we have the document here that kind of outlines what we talked about. This is just for discussion purposes, and we can flesh it out as we go along. The beginning is an overview of what we're tasked to do as a PIG, and then the second part has a list of I guess current beliefs or the things that we have based this off of. A big part is that this is it's only to be used until a more stable and streamlined process can be developed through the Safe Routes to School plan. So this is kind of like an interim process that we hope that we can kind of use, and then a more robust one strategy might come out of the Safe Routes to School plan. And then this is also for non-infrastructure and infrastructure both. And then we're going to go down. We believe that all of these different agencies can apply. It's basically anyone, for-profit, non-profit, government organizations. And then we have 2 tracks established here. So one, we're calling it the proactive process, but this is one that the committee has identified these projects should be funded. So this is listed down here are the recommendations that we have. It's for $3,750,000. So this is similar to what you were mentioning, Katie. One is for the creation of the Safe Routes to School plan, and then maybe an administrative support that would like take notes and set up the meetings and do all the minutes. And then the Safe Routes coordinators, the 6 of them, for up to $3 million. So those are the ones that we think that the committee should fund. And then there is a reactive process where this is requesting for applications from anybody that was interested. We have a submission form, and then basic evaluation metrics that we'll use to kind of rate the applications that come in. And then we'd select from that process. And
So-
that's the entire document here.
Great. Thanks. So you guys will send this to me and we'll send it on out and everybody can start to take a look. I think the one thing that has probably come out since we've talked about this is that although this committee and this like statewide process cannot give funds to community-based organizations, it's just, we can't, the authority is not there, a whole host of things. That does not preclude the counties from doing it though with their funding allotments. So I think this process, like the reactive process where we start to, it can help flesh that out for all of the coordinators and all the county programs. I'm not saying this guaranteed, but I think like before we weren't sure if they could get funds at all under any circumstances. And it looks, and I don't think they can from the program as a whole, I mean, as a direct recipient, but they can through existing county. That may be a possibility. So that it does change the narrative a little bit around that, but I wanted to clarify that. And if I'm wrong, I'm 100% sure Tara will let me know, but I'm pretty sure that's what we have had determined from other things.
That makes sense. I also kind of feel like, I mean, this is what we came up with, but I also feel like given that the committee has actually like voted on something, I feel like before we send it out, we should probably update it, Yamato, if you're okay with that. To align with what the committee has voted on already, because there are overlaps, but there are also a few discrepancies. So I think we should be, in line. So as not to confuse people. If you're
Yes,
okay with
sounds
that.
good.
And then the
I think
other
that's
thing
right.
I wanted to highlight too, that I feel like this is important, is we did put in there a statement in terms of our beliefs, our current beliefs. That this work exists to improve the conditions for Keiki walking and rolling to school on land that the U.S. seized from Hawaiian monarchy. The U.S. apologized for this injustice in 1993. This is a painful, complicated truth. In addition to the formal 1993 apology, this committee also acknowledges that both the federal and state and thus county governments have extensive trust responsibilities to the Native Hawaiian people. These trust responsibilities are outlined in more than 150 federal enactments and in the very act that made Hawaii a state in 1959. We acknowledge that Hawaii's state constitution explicitly guarantees some of these responsibilities, including the protection of traditional customary practices, statutes listed, and the provision of a Hawaiian education program also listed. Given both the historical truths and current realities, we believe Safe Routes to School funds and projects must, at minimum, uphold trust responsibilities and affirm and expand constitutional protections and entitlements to the greatest extent possible by law. This committee believes Safe Routes to School funds and project must support the thriving of Hawaii's indigenous peoples. I just want to make real clear that this is a belief system, that the PIG holds, and we are, making sure that it's outlined and stated in our proposal.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Sorry, I also want to note that there were discussions we had we weren't sure about. So like one is whether these funds can be given upfront. So we wrote in here, we think it's good to give upfront $20,000 as frequently as necessary, and then on a rolling basis until the project's done. But I'm not sure if that's allowed. I know the funds used to be upfront funds that Tara would give to the counties. So we just kind of put it in there.
Okay.
One thing is to say, like, we don't know if all of this is possible. We're just kind of putting in what we think we could do.
And Katie, we have a question in there from Keopu wondering if there will be any opportunities for members of the public to access ahead of the 1029 meeting, since there will be more robust discussion of members.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I missed that.
Will there be any opportunities for members of the public to access this ahead of the 1029 meeting, since there will be more robust discussion by members?
Yeah, I will send it out to the distribution list we have of folks. So, and yes, so, which everybody who's a guest is on that list, I believe. And if not, I know to make sure they're on it. So, yep. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think one of the things that this process, and hopefully kind of like a little bit of a call for projects, will help like the counties have options, to have us have an understanding of what additional things might be out there, particularly from people not, you know, in their working hours working on this topic. So I think that's really great. And I think it's going to be a really nice thing to help us move this along. I think we're still just trying to get as much information as we can. And one of the ways to do that is ask, how do people want to have safer routes to school? So thank you. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is an invitation to interested members of the public to be heard on matters not included on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Are there any last minute announcements? As a reminder, if you can't make the meeting, please appoint a temporary designee unless you are a designee, in which case make the person who appointed you show up. If you have other questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. So, all right. Okay. Tommy, do you have an announcement? Oh, okay.
Actually,
All right.
I take that back. I would love to announce that this Saturday we're doing a community workday event, Lidgate Beach Park, 8:30 to lunch. We'll be inducting Kealahele Makalai into the Rails to Trails Conservancy Hall of Fame with the blessing of Mayor Kawakami and Kauai County Council members, putting about 200 volunteers to work cleaning up Lidgate Beach Park. And we would love to host any of you that would like to join us. So mahalo.
Great. And with that, at 11:01, we will adjourn.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Aloha.